saying that they found a worm in their pongal. You pay up the money, if not, they're going to defame them on social platforms. Rameswaram files a formal complaint, but several questions being asked. If the man indeed found a worm in his food, was he right in his place to demand 25 lakhs as compensation? What do Indian consumer laws say? A lot more on that as we delve on it. And of course, male birth control pill has finally come out. It's yet to be launched, but tests are proven to be successful, and it appears that men will soon have a way to control on their part as well. We will take you through details on that. And finally, Prime Minister Modi in Maldives. He's resetting ties with the neighbour nation after quite strained relationship in the last few months. A lot more on that. As always, the headlines first. Prime Minister Modi, President Muizu of Maldives kickstarting free trade agreement negotiations. India offers 4,850 crores line of credit and eases debt terms to boost ties in trade and defence. Congress chief hits out in the parliament, accuses Prime Minister of misleading the nation and denying real reservation benefits to the most marginalised communities. Health Minister JP Nadda tells Lok Sabha that there's no centralized data supporting such claims, denies any direct correlation between vaccines and cardiac deaths. Backed by DMK, the actor politician Kamal Hassan joins the upper house alongside Vaiko and two others. Chief Minister Stalin hails their entry as a boost to Tamil voice in the parliament. Here we're looking at Soumya rape and murder case. The convict Govindachamy has been nabbed. A prison break in Kannur has really sent the state of Kerala into a tizzy. Govindachamy is arrested now after much of the backlash. He's going to be transferred to a high security prison in Trishul. A minor raped multiple times by 3 men in Odisha's Jagatpur before they attempted to bury her alive on finding out that she was pregnant. While 2 brothers of the 3 have been arrested, the 3rd one is on the run. Students dead, 28 injured as school building collapses during morning assembly in Jhalawar. Headmaster, teachers all suspended. And a big crackdown on obscene content. Government blocks nearly 26 apps, including Ulu, Alt Balaji, major OTT purge that's currently underway. And France to recognize Palestine's state at UNGA in September becomes the first G7 nation to do so. Macron's move sparks US-Israel backlash. US State Secretary Rubio calls it reckless and a boost to Hamas propaganda. Now, a worm in the pongal or a calculated plot to extort 25 lakhs. Ramsharam Cafe, at this point, one of Bengaluru's most loved South Indian chains, is now battling a serious allegation, not of food poisoning but of blackmail. It appears it all began when the customer, who's named as Loknath, shot a video where he found a worm in his food. There you see it. 500 rupees pongal at the airport. He's said to have seen a worm and soon after that began to complain. I'm going to take you through that visual where they actually have an argument with the restaurant officials. All right, the video there shows him discussing it with another diner, hinting at uploading it on social media. In fact, the staff at Ramsharam Cafe also apologizes, says they're ready to give a refund, but it seems like the cafe's side, they're not willing to accept the complaint of the consumers there. According to the management, this was no safety issue. It was an attempted extortion. They say a group of 5 to 7 people created ruckus, refused to calm down and insisted on speaking to the cafe's owner. And when the manager alerted Sumant, the founder's son, the cafe's operations head, it appears that the situation only escalated. In fact, Sumant says he received a call from a private number, a man demanding 25 lakhs in cash to be delivered to Brigade Road or face reputational damage. The caller, according to Sumant, went unreachable at first but rang again at 10:27 a.m. with the same threat, but numbers were used. The cafe has now submitted the call logs to the police and they filed a formal complaint. In the police complaint, Sumant alleges that the worm was planted deliberately. It's highly likely that the person himself placed the insect in the food with the intent to blackmail. That's what the owner of Rameshwaram says, and this isn't a first claim. In fact, he says that many times the restaurant has been tarnished. So this is not new for us. It could very well be fake. So now the debate, of course, is legitimate. Food safety concerns or a staged extortion drama. 25 lakhs is compensation for a worm in the food. Compare this to United States, where a Starbucks customer was recently awarded 50 million in damages, but only after he suffered third-degree burns from hot coffee that spilled on himself due to negligence. He took that sip and that coffee fell on him and he suffered third-degree burns, and 50 million was awarded to the man. The Starbucks chain was in fact sued. Indian customers here, they do, of course, at this point we still don't know the concept of compensation. India's laws and rules are still very hazy. Indian consumer court will allow compensation, but of course they will assess the situation, the damage, the intent, the impact, all of it, and then demand a compensation that's fitting. But this doesn't mean entitlement, that you find a worm and then you demand 25 lakhs in cash at a secluded location. This more or less smells like extortion, rightly so, as suspected by Rameswaram Cafe. The case is now under police investigation but raises many questions. What are our consumer rights, our customer rights? And if at all a complaint like this turns criminal, extortion threats happen, then how do you deal with a situation like this? Joining us live, Sanjay Sahai, former ADGP Karnataka. We also have Nishant Kumar, founder and CEO Tahia. We also have Karan Puri, author and food journalist, along with our consumer rights expert, Professor Bijan Mishra. Professor Bijan Mishra, a quick word. If at all this worm was indeed found in the food and it wasn't staged, if I can go to my guest, please. If at all the worm was found in the food, can the consumer demand 25 lakhs in compensation? Is it too steep? We're looking at United States consumer court there awarding 50 million to the person who received third-degree burns. But here we're not too sure if the man, actually clearly the man did not consume that worm. He saw it. He seems to be using that as a weapon against the restaurant. But the question here is simple. Is he in his rightful place to demand that much?
Yeah, so Nibla, it's a very good intellectual discussion. I think your viewers need to know what they should and what they should not. You see, the law in our country is very clear. It says that if there is a defect or a deficiency, then the defect should be removed and the deficiency should be removed, and the consumer should be given a defect-free or a deficiency-free product or service. That's number one. Number two, you see, what we need to understand is compensation is to be calculated as per damage caused. So we have to also understand the compensation comes when there is an intentional damage caused due to negligence. Then only the consumer is liable to claim compensation, and that also going through the judicial system like the District Commission, State Commission, National Commission, Supreme Court. So we have got the four-tier redressal mechanism where they can go, but not do a kind of, activity like this, which actually tarnishes the images of our consumer, which actually undermines the rights of the consumer, and very strong action should be taken against such citizens who try to extort money I can't say whether it was implanted or whether it was there.
Yeah, that's
but
something even the restaurateur can't say. Even Rameshwaram can't say for certain whether this was planted.
Yeah, no. So my contention is food manufacturing practices has to be of best of standard hygiene as defined by the Food Safety Authority, and the state regulator is responsible to do these checks, and they have to figure out how hygienically the food is prepared, whether it's done as per good manufacturing practices or not. That is the role of the Food Safety Authority. Of course, the citizens also have the right to go and report. If they see something wrong is happening, then they can go and report to the Food Safety Authority and also bring it to the attention of the food provider, food manufacturer, or the service provider. But they have no right to demand compensation directly from the service provider or the food manufacturer or the service provider. So the point which I am making is India has got excellent laws, very good laws, which are in the interest of the consumers. It is the state government who should build such awareness like you are doing in your channel today and taking a case study and explaining it to your viewers. Similarly, government should be doing this in a regular manner. What to do when things go wrong. So that is a very important fact, which everybody should know. Now, what my contention is, the government should be able to certify all these food restaurants who are adopting good manufacturing, hygiene practices, handling practices, and make consumers know that they regularly check them. When was it last inspected? What was the report? Make it public so that we have that trust in those brands when we go.
Right.
We already have trust in these brands, and that's why we go there. But if such incidents happen, then naturally what we are saying is, how do you do the correction? How do you improve? How do you ensure that these mistakes don't happen again? Because it can happen.
You're saying the responsibility does lie with the restaurant. It shouldn't be so easy to fool a restaurant as well. If at all it's staged, then how is it so easy for them to be caught up in this? I'm not saying it's impossible, but very well it could have been planted. But according to Bijan Mishra, you're saying that if this was indeed the restaurant's fault, then they've got to own up to it, right? You
Yes,
can't malign the consumer for
for
calling this out.
Yeah, not only own up, they should always make it very transparent to show that they're adopting good hygiene practices, good manufacturing handling practices, and they need to display that in a regular manner. And the state food safety authority should be able to, endorse that, certify that, and the consumers should be able to know that these restaurants are safe, they adopt good practices, and if such things do happen, as I'm saying, that it can happen due to mishandling, or it could be an error, it could be some deficiency in the manufacturing process.
I would like you, Professor Bijan Mishra, I would like you to explain to us in detail what the Indian law says about compensation in case of food contamination. But before that, let me go to our police on the panel here. Sir, Mr. Sanjay, why do you smell of a conspiracy or a bid to extort here? 25 lakhs. The people have asked to come and bring it to them in a secluded location. All call logs and details, messages has been handed over to the police by Rameshwaram founders. They say we've seen many of these kinds and this looks like an extortion bid.
See, there are 2-3 issues. One is whether the video was planted or it was not planted. Planted in the sense whether the insect was administered into whatever the food item which was served. So that's point number one. If anybody wants to in the investigation, they'll be able to find out. It is not a very, very difficult exercise. Nonetheless, if it were the mistake of Rameshwaram Cafe, and the Food and Drug Administration has been passing off Rameshwaram Cafe without a proper audit, then that is a different story, and that deficiency and discrepancy can be sorted out at a different official level. Now we come to the crux of the matter and taken for, if we go by on the face value that, okay, this insect was found. Now who will decide on the fate of compensation? It is not a question of compensation. What is happening in this case is it is compensation versus extortion. Compensation by a private and demanded by a private individual of the nature of which we are talking about, it is 100% extortion. Regarding that, there is no doubt. It is basically taking law into your own hands, even if that contamination has happened. And with the call records and variety of other evidence which is being provided by Rameswaram Cafe, it can be clearly made out whether it was an extortion or not. If it were not to be an extortion, then there is absolutely no purpose of the present complainant or the present customer to contact Rameswaram Cafe. They could have taken the legal way and gone to the District Consumer Redressal Forum or whatever other agencies are available. The added point which I feel is that these individuals know what a brand is and what damage they can do to a brand. So primarily for these reasons, this 25 lakhs has been talked about, and that also surreptitiously being handed over to them at whatever location and in whichever manner. The criminality of these guys is certainly, I think, nearly proven, even if the facts of the case are exactly the way they are narrating it to be. So broadly, this extortion business, it is of a different kind, where they are creating this nature of a social media hype way beyond whatever the law provides for, using it for their purposes in most surreptitious of the ways and trying to get away with it.
Right. So if at all the guy is trying to get away with it after after trying to extort from a big chain like Rameswaram, what's the punishment? What's really the sections that the police can impose?
There will be extortion case against him, and I think there will be enough and sufficient evidence of whatever has been provided by Rameswaram Cafe, and then it goes for the judicial trial. And if it is a close and shut case, which in the digital age, see, the biggest or the most fascinating story today is that most of these supposedly suspects or criminals, whichever way you name them, they feel that they are way ahead of the police. And there are many a times where I think they are doing great service to the police, feeling that the police does not have the capability to catch them, or they are 2 steps ahead of the police, and they finally land up because of the digital technology available with us and available with even the owner of Rameswaram Cafe, so that the whole thing can be stitched together and extortion can be proved in a much more efficient, cogent, cohesive manner in a court of law where you will not be needing much of human evidence. So those witnesses part can only be add on. I think only the calls and variety of other digital communication will be sufficient enough to prove this extortion, and it can go through the judicial trial.
Right. To a food blogger on the panel, this digital age, how responsible should people be on platforms like this? Consumers there posting such videos, what does it do to a brand's reputation? And anyway, we know how brands also could use bloggers or people online to review them falsely, even or try and save their image if it has been maligned by someone. So digital is a double-edged sword, but at a time like this, where can you draw the line? Here we're looking at a man threatening them, saying, you give me the money, if not I'm going to put this out on social platforms. So this is clearly him not actually calling the restaurant out, or intention is not basically to just let people know that, hey, beware. It's not feedback that he's giving. This is clear-cut defamation from the face of it. But what in your view can this case really turn out to be, since it's a police complaint now, and Rameswaram believes that this was fake and set up? I want to know, as a food blogger, how would you react to a reaction from a restaurant like this if you were indeed in that position?
See, it's a high-profile cafe. Rameswaram is very well-known cafe, and I think the person who himself has, done this doesn't look like a influencer himself, and he just trying to malign the image of the cafe. And obviously it's very important in this day and age in digital media. You have to be very serious about what you're doing. As a food blogger, you have to be honest at what you're doing and what you're reporting. And I think there is a certain kind of food and safety standards that also the restaurants have to apply for themselves, on themselves. And this kind of case, I think, is really, it shows that what are the issues that we are facing currently in social media, and these kind of things should not happen. I think Rameshwaran Cafe is whatever claiming what they're claiming. It has to be backed by proof. Like the food blogger, what he's saying, he has already put the video on the social media. So now it is up to him. If he is saying the truth, then he has to stand by it. If not, then he'll definitely face the consequences.
Look, the thing is, he's already put out that video on social platforms. So that bid to extort is also now no more. It doesn't stand. He doesn't have that opportunity to take the money either. But Rameshwaram to say that this is set up and false and fake after the video was out also raises questions at this point.
Yes.
But if I could get our restaurant owner on the panel, Mr. Sanjay Sahai, I beg your pardon, Nishant Kumar, to give us a take on how do you deal with instances like this. Have you ever been a victim to a customer trying to target you by falsely planting an insect or something like a worm that we see in Rameshwaram?
So a worm is something that is a different scenario altogether, but we face the same sort of situations every day where we are concerned with more of like hair in the food or something like that. But being there as a restaurant owner and like following all the standards that are there in FSSAI that is told to us. So like being in the kitchen, everyone has to wear hair nets. We are always taken care of with the expiries, everything that is there. And worm coming in the food by a place like Rameshwaram, which has so many outlets, and they obviously maintain a lot of SOPs in order to bring in so many, in order to cater so many people at the same time. So worm coming in food is something that is like quite impossible, I would say. But sometimes, yes, everyone are humans who are working in the kitchen. Sometimes things happens. But what I think is that even if there was something like a situation like this, these are some situations that customers should also understand that Rameshwaram being a so huge brand and being trusted by crores of people, and situation like this is something that can be dealt upon in a very normal manner, and it should not be taken like a extortion case by asking 25 lakh rupees or something like that, because this won't end up anywhere. This won't end up anywhere. Like if you'll talk directly with the managers, with the customers, the nearby people around you, you still get something from the restaurant. But if you'll take a way of extortion, then nothing's gonna happen. Because if Rameshwaram is concerned, the procedures that they follow, and there is camera everywhere, there's the CCTV footage is everywhere. Even FSSAI, they keep on visiting the places and they keep on doing the testing and reports. So if restaurant comes to fight with the customer on this end, I don't think there's gonna be anything for the customer.
If you're going to really push the restaurant to the edge and corner them with a demand of 25 lakhs, and I don't think, I mean, it's of course bound to be disappointing for the consumers.
Right.
You will have to go empty-handed. Now, I would like to
definitely
bring in Bijan, Sir Bijan, your clarity finally on what are consumer rights. Again, in case this is true, that they indeed found a worm in the food, and maybe Rameshwaram, which is also not certain whether this was planted, they're only guessing. If this is indeed true, yet again, what is that man's rights under the consumer law?
Yeah, Nabila, can I respond to your earlier question, which you wanted to ask me in terms of compensation?
Yes.
Yeah. You gave an excellent example about coffee being spilled on a consumer. You see, the compensation element comes when there is enough evidence of a damage caused due to negligence. Now, again, the negligence has to be well defined because it can be voluntary. It can't be. It can be. I mean, it can be intentional or non-intentional. But the point is that if there is a damage caused, then the consumer has the right to claim compensation to the extent the damage has been caused. Like if there is a burn, then naturally the consumer has to be paid enough damages in terms of getting back that, shine on the hand or the face or wherever the damage has happened. The surgeries have to be done. All medical care has to be given to that consumer so that all expenses are met for. And of course, the agony and also the turmoil the consumer would have gone through, all that is mental agony. It's all calculated. It's all well laid out. The judiciary knows how to calculate that and give that compensation. So the consumer in our country is not left at large. He knows that if there is a definite act of negligence, then the damage caused due to that negligence will be compensated. That's very clear. Now that can be negotiated out of court also with the provider and through the law as per, when we say out of court means again mediation, alternative dispute resolutions, which is now legal and it is allowed by the Supreme Court that you can have a mediator to come in who is a man of repute to handle the two parties to come to a conclusion in terms of what that, but it can't be that you go on your own and you start asking. The consumer cannot ask on its own that I need this much of money. No, sorry. That is extortion. That is a criminal case. You have to be taken under custody because it's a criminal activity. You are trying to extort, which is criminal. So that can't be tolerated. The law, it doesn't allow. So if anybody is trying to do that, strong action should be taken by the police immediately, right away, by taking that person into custody and creating all the evidences which are required. So that is the first thing. The law is very clear. The rights of the consumer is, right to information. Like my friend who runs a restaurant, he must tell people how often FSSAI is coming, which date did they come last, what was that report. They must make it public. The right to information, right. The right to choice. That if I don't like this dal, I should be able to get another option in terms of my dal. So there should be choice given to the consumer. So there are rights which tells you information, redressal, right to be heard. Like my friend who runs a restaurant, he says, if he can't get something, if he does all this, he will not get anything and he'll go back empty-handed. No, sorry. No consumer is asking for favors from you. Please remember this. A consumer wants that delight when he goes and pays you that money. He wants that value for money. In case you have not been able to give that value for money, then you have to own up and then you have to make him happy, bring that smile on his face and make him go. But you have the right that he is heard, his dispute is resolved, you are able to give him a choice, the right to quality, the right to standard, right to safety. These are all consumer rights, which is enshrined under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. Yeah. So the Indian citizen is well protected as far as the consumer is concerned. We have a very good law, which is one of the best in the world, which protects the consumer. All right. So the consumer should not feel that they are not protected.
Thank you very much, Sabijan Mishra, along with Karan Puri and Nishant and Sanjay. I really appreciate your time for joining us. Let's just hope this case is resolved as per the proof they have. All right, let me cut across to our next top story here. But before that, I will slip into a short break. A tease for you though. Men now have a contraceptive pill. While science is ready, are men ready to take it? Stay with us for a lot more.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर डायना प्रीमियम ब्यूटी सोप पहली झलक करे खूबसूरत
खूबसूरत सी तुम कोई चिंता करो पीछे भरोसा खड़ा है तुम्हारे तुम नया कर बनाते रहो।
जब कोई हमारी बाकी चिंताओं को संभाल लेता है तो हम कर पाते हैं खूबसूरत सी कोई चिंता। टाटा कैपिटल में हम आपकी हर फाइनेंशियल चिंता को संभाल लेते हैं ताकि आप करें सिर्फ खूबसूरत चिंताएं।
Hi, this is Baman Irani.
Hi, this is Karishma Tanna. Hi, I'm Nushat Bharucha.
Catch this conversation on News9.
Catch this conversation on News9.
Catch me and this conversation on News9.
Hi, this is Shahid Kapoor and catch this conversation on News9.
Let me cut across to our story here on men now having contraceptives. For decades, birth control has been a woman's job. Pills and patches, IUDs, injections, the burden of family planning has sat squarely on the lady's shoulders. But that could soon change. In a breakthrough that could redefine reproductive health, scientists have developed a hormone-free male contraceptive pill. It's called the YCT 529. It's said to be safe, reversible, and it's just cleared its first human trial. 16 healthy men, all vasectomized, took that pill daily in phase 1 trial. No serious side effects, no hormonal disruptions, promising signs that a male birth control pill could very well be right around the corner. Now, how does it work? It blocks a vitamin A metabolite in the tests. It shuts down sperm production, but without touching any testosterone levels. In animal studies, sperm counts bounced back within weeks of stopping the pill. That means, unlike vasectomies or condoms, this could offer men a non-invasive, reversible option. Now, why does this really matter for women? Of the 1.9 billion women globally, nearly 164 million still don't have access to modern contraceptives, thanks to stigma, poor access, or health risks. A male pill could really ease that load. It could shift some of that responsibility to the man and maybe, just maybe, bring some balance to the conversion of the actual responsibility from a woman to a man now. And of course, a better conversation around family planning that a couple could have. The pill now heads into phase 2 trials. If all goes well, it could hit the shelves in few years. But here's the real question. Are men really ready for this? Science is ready. Are men? I will stress on that question. Joining me for a little more on that, our activist Brinda Adige, along with Dr. Hema Divakar, of Director Divakar Specialty Hospital. I will start with our doctor on the panel first. Hema, tell me what you think of this male contraceptive. I think it's a breakthrough. Many women might think or hail this as great headway in science. But what do you think? Will men be acceptable of something like this?
Thank you, Nabila. It is all a question about shared responsibility, and I would also think about the shared blame, if you can, relate to that. Because it's not the first time that we are thinking along the lines of the male contraceptive. Years ago, Dr. Talwar from India itself was, injectable contraceptive for men. Then there was a pill called Gossipol many decades ago, which didn't stand the test of time. And now we hear from the US counterparts, the YCT 529, the new kid on the block. Well, 16 men, it's a short trial that they have done. But if it really comes into the market, and the important thing being it's reversible and it is short acting, so the moment you stop it, you can get back your fertility. Having said that, the key question that you asked, Nabila, are men ready for it? I would flip it around and also ask, some women in our own country, they, tell us, no, don't do anything to my husband. It's all me. Just give everything to me and it's okay. They are the ones sometimes who keep them away. And just the two methodologies, the barrier as in a condom and the vasectomy, even then, the reluctance to use, the minuscule usage of the surgical method of the male contraception, that is actually the reality. So when this comes into the forefront, it's also the women who have to change their mindset and the shared responsibility in every way for parenting, for the family, for the workspace, and for everything at home. Slowly the mindset is changing, but steadily. So I think the new era of women will not spare the men. They are educated. They will stand up to the fact that, yes,
but medically speaking, medically speaking, how do you convince men are so worried about their testosterone levels? I hear men actually having conversations that I don't want to eat chewing gum, I don't want to eat mint, don't smoke mint cigarettes. They will smoke cigarettes, but they won't smoke mint cigarettes because that could decrease their sperm count. Stuff like that. So men are so worried about their testosterone. Do you think men will show trust in this medical headway?
It's both the men and women may not show trust because it's the performance at intercourse. Also, sometimes it affects their mind. Though it's an unfounded thing that if I take this, maybe, something else will go wrong with the performance, and maybe they say it is reversible, maybe it may not be reversible. And then the counts that you mentioned, if it is not having a substantial evidence and really, it can prove that it is not reversible, then that's again a problem. So there are still some gaps, and it's for decades that research has been going on of how to involve the men in this bracket of contraception, and I don't think we have succeeded yet. So even if I have to convince a couple that, look here, the contraceptive options are there, both for your wife and yourself, the very little acceptance, and hardly the needle has moved by 0.1% where men are involved in the contraceptive discussion and the methodology of adoption. I think we have a long way to go on that barrier. But if the science advances and the thinking of the population advances, which will take a while, of course, everything cannot happen overnight, there is still some hope for the women to feel better, because they're not the only ones. The willing men are willing to share the responsibility, which indeed has to be, the scenario, if not in near future, at least in a while to come. That is my take on that.
Okay, well, let me bring in Brinda Adigesh. She's dealt with lots of cases of such nature where it's always the woman taking the burden, responsibility, and the brunt. For decades, Brinda, women have shouldered this burden of contraception. So do you see this yourself as a breakthrough, as someone who's really championed women's rights and seeing the countless helpless women? Women can't even say no. Forget about contraceptive. Women don't even have rights to their own reproductive system. They cannot say no to another child. That's how much they fear saying no to their in-laws and their husband. In India, many other parts of the world, I'm not saying this is India alone, but here and then most often it's the classic statement, it was a mistake.
I think it might be a scientific breakthrough, but where men are concerned and voluntarily expecting that men would come and take this contraceptive, I think it's a huge challenge. Though we know that if they can be educated and will be convinced that there will be no side effects. Of course, the pill is saying that there are no side effects to either their hormones or to their so-called performance. And if it really happens, then we know that at least women's burdens would be reduced. It will not go away altogether, but it would be reduced. We also know that contraceptive pills that are there for women have hormonal side effects. And it is an invasive procedure also. Whereas in this one, all of that is not there. And I do hope that men understand that this is not going to do anything to their so-called manliness or masculinity. But again, like Doctor pointed out, it's going to take a long time, because we know even today that over 90 to 95% of men don't know that a boy child is born because of the Y chromosomes in the men. And so women suffer the brunt of, 2 girl children, 3 girl children, and all of the other violence that comes with it. But that said, I'm also looking at another part, which is also a serious concern, especially in cases of sexual assault, abuse, and rape. It is going to bring in a lot of challenges, forensic challenges, of course, legal, social, and ethical challenges, because we know that these are things that would be misused, sorry to use that word, also because perpetrators are there out, rapists are there, and we know that people in positions of power, especially in institutions, or people who have control over children and women in some kind of a structural setup, may also misuse something like this. And there is no way for us to prove, not that we are doing great just now, but at least there is a DNA to prove that yes, this rape was, I was subjected to rape, and consent was not taken, and no matter how many lies he says, there was a DNA that you could have proven. So that would become a big challenge in the days to come whenever this happens. So we are looking at the government itself to look at healthcare policies and probably newer laws to strengthen and safeguard women and women's positions and women's circumstances and situations in cases of sexual assault and rape in a situation where this pill may be used by whoever that is. But that said, I think it also helps women with unintended pregnancies and absolutely unrequired abortions.
So do a lot to our Indian population that's exploding.
Irrespective of the population.
I'm certain, Brinda, would you agree?
Agency for the woman.
Would you agree? Aren't we certain as women? I wish we had a man on the panel, now in retrospect. Apologies to our viewers and the men who are watching us. But I'm certain a woman would never want more than 3, maybe 4. I'm giving them benefit of doubt, 4 children. But I know of women who have 5, 6. I'm largely talking about women who are not fluent. They are not able to say no. I have a lady who comes home every day. She tells me very clearly that she couldn't say no to the 5th child. It was by mistake and the in-laws insisted, so she went with it. And I've heard many of such stories and I hear them on a daily basis. So where do you change the mindset? We have a breakthrough in science, but will the attitude change? And should there be some kind of social conditioning that we should begin with today?
Absolutely. I think education is the primary step.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure, doctor, go on.
Yeah, Brinda. Nabila, I think that slowly even the mindset here also is, as I emphasize again, it cannot change overnight, but it is changing because if you see the fertility rate per se, there is a stagnation and there's a little bit of a dip. The population is increasing because longevity has increased. Many men and women are living longer. So overall, if you see the population, we have surpassed China even, but every educated, even the middle class, lower middle class, they are dreading to bring up more than 2 children. So slowly, somewhere or the other, in some pockets of the population, they are proactively thinking of limiting the family size. That is for sure. And the new era metro, the couples don't even want to have a single child. They'll have the pet and then they will want to enjoy their life. Even that kind of a mindset is it's coming in. That is the reality. As practitioners over the last 4 decades, we have seen a sea change in the women's attitude. They're more empowered because of education. They can earn for themselves. They have some kind of a say in a limited manner. And for the peace of the family, they may agree for a few things here and there, give and take. But again, the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, the education and economic empowerment will slowly bring in that change also, I hope. But as Brinda said, it's both medical and social. The 2 sides of the coin that we have to look at in this issue of contraception, whether it's for men and women or women. And in fact, I would think that if the contraception for men, that too reversible, comes into the market, then if the women are a little bit free from using the hormone pills, which can, in the face of obesity and other comorbidities, they're having diabetes, hypertension, and they're forced to take the pill, it's a dreadful thing. And of course, there are other methods of contraception which have their own limitations. Everybody is not eligible for everything. Whereas if in that couple, if the female is not eligible medically, then the men can take the pill. Then it's a nice combination. So as we progress, I do hope this research which has been going on for more than about 6 decades, and they haven't come up with anything great till now. Okay. This has again, it will always renew our hope. 16 men are nothing, mice and other things, okay, they are extrapolating the data, but we need at least about 10,000, 1 million men going through this, and then convincing that, even with their own choice, they can take this because of the issues that Brinda said about the power to...
Final word, Brinda, you were just saying, as we wrap here, what's the kind of social conditioning we can do and start with today? Something that does not dent the male ego.
Well, that I think a lot more research has to be done. It's so fragile. But that said, I think education and it beginning from my home and in my communities and certainly in school, because even today we are too shy and we don't want to talk about these things where male supremacy may be challenged. But if this bill is really in the market and on the road, it's going to challenge gender norms. And that means we're talking of a lot of other changes. And like I mentioned, healthcare policies will also change because all of that now concentrates a lot on women. And now it would also come on to men. And I think that would be nice because it's time that we don't have to wait for 300 years for gender equality, and we might just have to wait 250 years. But let's hope that our men across India and the world would be happy to get educated and take that burden of the family and of contraceptive.
Right. Lovely conversation that I had with the two of you, Brinda and Doctor. I really appreciate your time and your views there. And again, an apology to the men. I did not have one of you representing the panel here today. But, well, we're listening. Thank you. We're slipping into a short break. We'll be right back with all the top stories and Day Tonight. Stay with us.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर एंकर टूथपेस्ट, नए जमाने की नई सुरक्षा।
ये वाला तो गुगली है,
वो वाला,
ये वाला तो सिक्सर है।
कौन सा फ्लेवर बिजनेस बढ़ाएगा? ये खूबसूरत चिंता आप करिए। बिजनेस लोन की चिंता हम संभाल लेंगे विद कोलैटरल फ्री लोन एंड टेन्योर अप टू 7 years।
Go condoms?
It's over there.
क्या ये डिफरेंट साइजेस में आता है?
Actually, sir, size matter नहीं करता.
तो फिर क्या मैटर करता है?
The hardness
Of the condom.
of what's inside.
For the first time ever, presenting Hard Rock Gel, the hardness gel for men.
अब फ्री हर स्कोर कॉन्डम्स के 10 पैक के साथ।
फिर ये डुगडुगी गई कहाँ? पापा के साथ साथ सारे सपने भी चले गए। पर अपने बच्चों को सपनों के साथ ऐसा कुछ नहीं होने देना।
वो कैसे?
पहले से लाइफ इंश्योरेंस का टर्म प्लान ले रखा है। बड़े भैया,
सपनों को रखो सुरक्षित टर्म प्लान के साथ। सबसे पहले लाइफ इंश्योरेंस।
Welcome back. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Maldives on a 2-day visit, his first since ties were tested by the India Out campaign and Malay's growing proximity to China. But the tone today was one of reset and warmth from Maldives side. Maldives President Moizu, who once pushed for Indian troops to leave, rolled out a red carpet welcome for Prime Minister Modi. 2 top ministers from Foreign Affairs to Defence were at the airport to receive him. In fact, Prime Minister Modi has been invited as a chief guest for Maldives' 60th National Day, marking 60 years of diplomatic ties between the two nations. A powerful message indeed, a reconnecting, reaffirming India's neighbourhood first policy. As chants of Narendra Modi Zindabad echoed in Malay, Prime Minister Modi today hit another big milestone back home in India. On July 25th, 2025, Prime Minister Modi now stands on foreign soil but officially becomes India's second longest consecutively serving Prime Minister, overtaking Indira Gandhi's record of 4,077 days. From Gujarat Chief Minister to 2001 to a 3-term Prime Minister, Prime Minister Modi has led governments for nearly 24 uninterrupted years. He is the longest serving non-Congress Prime Minister, the first born post-independence to hold the post, and the only non-Congress leader to win 2 full terms with a clear majority. A landmark visit indeed for Prime Minister Modi in Maldives, and today was a landmark moment for the Prime Minister. Those are some of the images that we're showing you of Prime Minister Narendra Modi over the years through his political journey. He now surpasses Indira Gandhi on the number of days he's been in power. Today we saw Kamal Hassan, finally his long-lived dream or his wish to become a parliamentarian has come true. Veteran actor Makal Nedimayam, Chief Kamal Hassan has officially entered the parliament, taking oath as a Rajya Sabha MP today. Kamal Hassan expressed his gratitude, saying that he felt both honoured and proud to give this opportunity for his party and himself. The M&M party headquarters in Alwarpet, Chennai was all geared up for the live screening, followed by celebrations by the party cadre.
Sir, today is an important day. You are here to taking oath. How do you see this?
I'm proud. I'll come back and talk to him. Very proud. I'm honored. Thank you.
Sir, today is an important day. You are here to taking oath. How do you see this?
I'm proud. I'll come back and talk to him. Very proud. I'm honored. Thank you.
Now, Kamal Hassan's induction into Rajya Sabha is widely seen as a reward from the DMK after his party, the M&M, extended his full support to the ruling alliance in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Well, let's hear it. Kamal Hassan taking oath in Tamil today.
மாநிலங்கள் அவையின் உறுப்பினராக தேர்ந்தெடுக்கப்பட்டிருக்கும் கமல் ஹாசன் எனும் நான் சட்டத்தினால் நிறுவப்பெற்றதான இந்திய அரசியல் சட்டத்தின் மீது உண்மையான பற்றார்வமும் பற்றுறுதியும் கொண்டிருப்பேன் என்றும் இந்தியாவின் இறையாண்மையையும் ஒருமைப்பாட்டையும் உறுதியாக பற்றி நிற்பேன் என்றும் நான் இப்போது ஏற்கவிருக்கும் கடமையினை நேர்மையாக நிறைவேற்றுவேன் என்றும்
Now, Kamal Hassan had previously contested the 2021 Tamil Nadu Assembly elections from Coimbatore South, narrowly losing to BJP's Vanathish Srinivasan. The DMK-led alliance swept all 39 parliamentary seats in Tamil Nadu this year. As part of the alliance arrangement, Kamal Hassan has now promised a seat in the upper house. He was promised a seat in the upper house, and that promise has been fulfilled. All right, now first it was Kolhapuri, now it's Juti. Luxury fashion house Prada seems to be making a very fine line between inspiration and appropriation yet again. Just months after facing heat for showcasing what looked suspiciously like Kolhapuri chappals on the Milan runway and calling them touring sandals, Prada is now in the spotlight for another questionable design choice. This time it's the in fact what we see on our screens is that very juti, antique leather pumps. In fact, it's currently featured on Prada's website that are turning heads and not in a good way. Fashion watchers now, cultural commentators pointing out the striking resemblance between Prada's latest offering and India's iconic Punjabi juti, a traditional leather slip-on shoe worn for centuries, famously by none other than Maharaja Ranjit Singh. So now after Kolhapuris, it seems like jutis, Prada is now copying. Unlike the Kolhapuri chappal, which received GI tag protection 2019, Punjabi juti does not have that legal shield yet. But its cultural significance is undeniable. Everyone knows in the world that it belongs to India and Punjab largely. So the question stands, is this culturally appropriate for Prada to be taking that juti and copying it almost in a way, branding it theirs? Because while inspiration is expected in fashion, credit is also highly essential. For India's artisans who preserve these intricate crafts over generations, global luxury brands borrowing without acknowledging really hits different. It's quite clear, whether it's Kolhapuri or juti from Punjab, India's rich footwear traditions aren't just fashion statements anymore. It seems like heritage that's almost being stolen without any credit for us. Well, we're very happy, at least our designs are all over. And then finally, Donald Trump. FANG means 5 best performing American tech stocks in the market. Strong message from US President Donald Trump has slammed tech giants as he also gives them a warning of sorts. He tells Google, Microsoft, Amazon and Meta not to hire from India or China. He says that America should be prioritized. His comments have sparked intense debate, but how much of this is political posturing and how much will actually change? Well, nonetheless, it's a statement that's coming from Trump that could make these big tech giants, Microsoft, Google, these are companies that hire extensively from India, now a little jittery with Trump's statement. Listen in.
For too long, much of our tech industry pursued a radical globalism that left millions of Americans feeling distrustful and betrayed. And you know that. Everybody knows that. Everybody in this room certainly does. Many of our largest tech companies have reaped the blessings of American freedom while building their factories in China, hiring workers in India, and slashing profits in Ireland. You know that. All the while dismissing and even censoring their fellow citizens right here at home. Under President Trump, those days are over. We need U.S. technology companies to be all in for America. We want you to put America first. You have to do that. That's all we ask.
Now, well, Trump has accused major tech firms of enjoying American freedom while outsourcing jobs to India, setting up offices in China and hiding profits in Ireland. His comments have gone quite viral, especially his call for these firms to focus on Americans. But here's the truth, despite what Trump demands, tech companies are unlikely to stop hiring in India. The answer lies in numbers, demand and economics. US produces 150,000 engineering graduates per year. India produces 1 million plus engineering graduates per year. So that's a big difference there, and that's precisely why US companies there are able to hire a large number of Indians for maybe a cheaper cost as well, and that's proving out to be cost effective for these tech giants. That means the US doesn't have enough homegrown engineers to meet tech demand, also the scale at which these tech companies work, especially with global AI race heating up. So speaking of money here specifically, US-based Indian developer earns about $75,000, that's 65 lakhs, while an Indian-based developer earns about 20 lakhs. This is a base point. The cost advantage of hiring Indian engineers is too significant to ignore. So clearly here, Trump asking for America first, but tech companies at this point in a limbo. What to do is certainly a question that looms now. That's it for me here. Thanks very much for watching. We will see you right here on Monday. You do have a great weekend.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर एंकर टूथपेस्ट, नए जमाने की नई सुरक्षा.
And in one clear Ford Mirage aircraft, flattened. This was Montezalo.
A huge explosion in which the entire hill face and the tents and everything else was totally destroyed.
Within a few seconds of ejecting, I could see the fighter plane going into the hill and exploding.
So no fight is going to be a single fight today or tomorrow, and it was not so at that point of time. Operation Safed Sagar saved large number of lives.
Women in West Bengal should be assured that it is a safe place for them, because justice should be done, served cold, quickly, and it should be done in a way that it is transparent. Peace and prosperity cannot coexist with terrorism and proliferation of weapons of mass destruction in the hands of terror groups. These visuals are the most defining moment when India's defense minister called out China's bluff. The memories of emergency have again become very, very relevant. There is no excuse. It subverted our constitution.
A deep dive into what matters to you the most. Angles you won't find anywhere else. News that impacts your life.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be. Maldivian President Mohamed Moizu congratulates Prime Minister Modi on being the second longest serving Prime Minister of India. After delimitation and the national education policy, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin ups his attack on the centre with the Quit SIR, the Special Intensive Revision, alleging the drive aims to erase poor